aborting a black child when it comes to it being, and the only reason I support aborting a black child when it comes to it being male is because when I look at the black community and the problems in it, it's associated with males and male pathology. Not only is she poisoning the women that listening to her, plenty of young girls watching, listening, and hearing this, that she's poisoning. And then you got to be concerned about when she has a daughter and she's using that same manipulation or that training on that young lady. But we don't speak on the deadbeat mother. We don't speak on how much women neglect their roles as mothers. And the only reason I support aborting a black child when it comes to it being male is because when I look at the black community and the problems in it, it's associated with males and male pathology.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful lake out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds. In the name of Yahweh Bashem Al Shah, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Al Shah. All right, and what I want to get into today, respond to this video off of TikTok. And this woman, she's verbalizing the hatred, that a lot, of the women, especially of the Southern Kingdom, the tribes, the hatred that they have for Jake, and the fact that she's so, comfortable, with saying that the problem amongst Jake is the black males, as if the woman, okay, which here it is, they boast on doing everything by themselves, being independent, okay, and for the last few decades, the majority of the children have been raised by the single mother, all right, and you have to understand the young niggas, all right, that the world despises, okay, well, it's a product of the enchantments of Esau, Edom, okay, and the parenting of the single mother, okay, and you have two situations where, two main, all right, archetypes, okay, of the single mother. You have the toxic ratchet, which the son just grows up fast and he just sees, everything, as a child, and he's exposed to everything, and he's in all these different environments. His mother's from, man to man, and, street niggas and all these different things that he's exposed to, and then she's toxic, there's a level of neglect, and he's groomed up with all this hatred. Okay, and he most likely becomes a serial killer. Okay, or you have, the single mother, that tries to nurture and spoil and, tries to take care of everything, doesn't allow him to, mature into a man, is always doing everything for him. Okay, which makes him what? All right, dependent. All right, and those are the ones that usually follow, all right, those young niggas that are neglected, because they had to be a go-getter because their mother was sorry as hell, okay? So the one that was pampered usually ends up following the niggas that were neglected, okay? And they both crash out for the most part. It's mainly your two scenarios, dealing with that. And they all following what? The enchantments of Esau, Edom. Okay, so you have these different parenting styles of the single mother, okay, but the same enchantments from Esau, and you still get the same poor product, okay? But she makes this blanket statement like, okay, it's black males. Like, hold on. Most men, 50% of men, all right, or Jake, don't even have children, okay? So this problem, okay, this young nigga epidemic, okay, and these young hoes, all right, are directly a product of the enchantments of Esau and the single mother. Okay? But it's always somehow Jake's fault as a whole. Okay, but at the end of the day, you see, it is what it is. You know, they keep blaming. All right, keep blaming Jake and keep doing what you're doing, and let's see how the results play out, especially coming into these times. Okay, now I want to get a few precepts. I want to make this long. All right, this is the book of Lamentation, chapter 4. All right, in verse 3, it says, "Even the sea monsters draw out the breast; they give suck to their young ones. The daughter of my people is become cruel, like the ostriches in the wilderness." Man, okay. So the motherhood amongst Jake is at an all-time low. You see, and on the flip side, just as the Israelite man, is, the sons of God, well, the women, okay, they're the daughters, okay, of Yahweh Bashim Shai. You see? And just as Jake excel when they're in their right mind, the woman excels when she's in her right mind. All right? There's no better mother on the planet, all right, than the Israelite woman. Okay, in her right mind, her natural estate. But the majority of the women of this, all right, age, okay, the modern nigga woman, all right, is an extension of Esau. She bears the hatred that Esau has for Jake. She has fully embodied that hatred. And this is what you have to understand you're dealing with, okay, with most women. Okay? They have this intense hatred, for Jake in these times. Okay? That's why there's a major difference between, our grandmothers and great grandmothers. Okay, and how they had that nurturing spirit, that sacrifice, okay, that humility. Okay, it's completely different because these women are on a completely, all right, they're completely enchanted, man, with hatred towards Jake. And, you got to be mindful out here, man. Because they be in survival mode, but they still have that hatred, so they'll play a part out of survival mode, but they'll still have that hatred, so be mindful. Now, let's go from there, all right, because she said abort, the males. Well, we seen this before. She was like, I'm cool with aborting the males, which that's the nation. Okay, the males carry the seed. Okay, showing you just how the nigga woman, her mind has been weaponized to destroy herself and her people, man. Okay, and that's why most of the nigga women in America, all right, are finna be eradicated, man. Okay, they are extremely counterproductive, all right, for the nation, man. It's the book of Exodus, chapter 1, okay, and verse 11, it says, "Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, as they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians, okay, made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage and mortar and in brick and in all manner of service in the field. And all their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, all right, or Shapara in the Hebrew, and the name of the other one Puah, all right. And he said, when ye do the office of the midwife to the Hebrew woman, and see them upon the stool, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live." Okay? So the heathen wanted to destroy the male because the male represented the strength. And they seen Jake multiplying and they was afraid of an overthrow. You see, the presence of Jake is threatening to these heathens, man, because we're the sons of God. Okay? So Jake, in their right mind, in their right order, is a threat to these devils, man. Okay, it's a threat to all these heathens, man. You see, so even back in ancient Egypt, as they were seeing, the Jake men, all right, those men child being born into the earth, they feel threatened. Okay, because a nation of women is no threat to anybody. Okay, power is transferred from men. Power goes through men. Okay, when the kingdom takes down another kingdom, well, their power transfers through men. There's men of one nation taking power from the men of another nation. Okay, women are just, they come with the deal. They're part of the deal, the package of rulership. Okay, and they have a beautiful order. And they're wise in their office. Okay, but when you're talking about, all right, establishing a nation, okay, well, that's through the men. Establishing dominion and power in the earth, that's through men. Okay, that's what Yahweh Shah is coming back to do. Okay, but you see that spirit, okay, that's on the nigga woman today. That's the hatred, okay, of an enemy. You see? Because back then, it says, but the midwives feared the Most High and did not as the king of Egypt commanded, but saved the man children alive. So you had Israelites, women, that feared Yahweh Bashim al Shah. Okay. So they didn't obey. Because you had women that were down, they understood the value, okay, of the nation through the men. You see, so they were down, and them women are back. You got a few sisters that's sincerely down. Okay, they understand the value, okay, of Israelite men. You see, it's rare, but it's back. Okay, so let's go. Let's read on. It says, and the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, why have you done this thing and have saved the men children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively and are delivered ere the midwives come in unto them. Okay, they like, look, they too quick. It's too many of them. Which they was putting on, which the Hebrew woman is lively. Jake and Eve gonna get down, and multiply. Okay, like no other nation. You see, but they was well, they was running game too. To keep those men children alive. Like, look, we can't keep up with them. It's too much going on for us to try to do what you told us to do. Okay, so they was disobeying, all right, heathen kings, all right, to preserve what? Their men child, their men children, man. Okay, therefore the Most High dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. So we became mighty, all right, because the midwives, okay, through fear of the Lord, those midwives back then, through the fear of the Lord, they continued to allow those men children to be born. That's where the strength of, all right, the nation is. And the woman has been manipulated. That's why Esau gassed her up with this strong black woman shit. Okay? This independent super woman, I'm this and that, and black girl magic, all this bullshit. Okay? And you see the nation's in shambles and getting worse. Okay? You see? But go back here in the New Testament, dealing with a verdict, all right, dealing with a decree, dealing with the men child of Israel. All right, so let's jump to the point. This is Matthew 2:16. Well, I started I start 13 reading too. It says, and when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, arise and take the young child and his mother and flee into Egypt. It says, and be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. When he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night and departed into Egypt, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken of the Lord by the prophet, saying, out of Egypt have I called my son. So the angel of the Lord, put Joseph and Mary on game, all right, to flee into Egypt, where you had Israelite communities in Egypt, that they was able to go live amongst, okay, and be out of the way and be preserved from the decree that will go forth from Herod. Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceeding wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem and in all the coast thereof, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men. Okay? So Herod spazzed out and did what? He slew the men child because he was threatened by the birth of Yahushua. Okay? These nations are threatened at the Israelite men. Okay? And not only Israelite men, but the men that are coming back to Yahweh Bashim al-Shai. That's a threat to this devil. Okay? These young niggas that Eve and the serpent are mass producing. All right? They're just being produced for the slaughter. Okay? But there's certain men of their remnant, okay, that has these nations in fear. When you go to Matthew 2:1, it says, now when Yahushua was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, where is he that is born king of the Jews? We have seen his star in the east and are come to worship him. When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. Okay? It said he was deeply disturbed in the NLT. Okay? He was threatened by the prophecy of Yahushua, Israelite male. Okay? But the nigga woman sees no value, and the majority of the nigga women see no value in the Israelite male. Okay? That's why the scriptures label her, she that is my enemy. Okay? Because what's happening is a remnant, okay, of Israelite men standing on their feet, okay, they have these devils shook. It's this is the Revelation 11, okay, and 11 it says, and after 3 days and a half, all right, 350 years, all right, from 1619 to 1969, going to 1970, we were spiritually dead, until the Lord started dealing through Elder Abba Bivens, which was John the Baptist, the forerunner of the prophets. John the Baptist sparked the ministry of the prophets in the spirit of Yahushua. Okay? And after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet. Okay? And now we're standing on our feet. We're active in the spirit again. Okay? We're established on that rock, which is Yahushua. Okay? And it says, and great fear fell upon them which saw them, and they heard that, it said, I'm gonna read this again. It says, and great fear fell upon them which saw them, man. So the fear comes from Israelite men of the elect standing on their feet. This is what got these devils shook. Okay, they understand the elites, these elites of Esau, these elites of these other nations. They know how power is transferred. Okay, how kingdoms are taken and dominated is through men. Okay, and as we stand upon our feet in Yahweh Bashim al-Shai, they're threatened by that, man. Okay, so going back, okay, and we can end it here. Let's get this in Daniel. All right, Daniel 7, okay, and 18. It says, but the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom, and this is the men. Okay, and you're going to have men, women, and children of the elect. Okay, but the taking of the kingdom, well, that's the office of men. The taking of kingdoms, beginning with Yahushua, and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever, man. So the transfer of rulership is going to go from, all right, Esau, Edom, okay, the men of Edom, all right, to the men of Israel, okay, from Esau to Jacob, you see, and the woman, all right, those women, okay, like those midwives with that mindset, all right, they're going to, all right, have the first benefits of that kingdom under those men, okay. So that's the point, Lord will, you brothers. All right, and you sisters edified once again. Give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Kakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders, GMS, who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutation, hopefully, shalom.